we've hired a bunch of AI experts. There's some engineers that used to work at Microsoft and OpenAI that are working at our company to fine tune models. And we've spent a few $1,000,000 playing with certain things and have come up with some useful tools. But I'd be happy to answer any questions about what we've discovered. It might not be relevant, but might be helpful.
Great. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you. Obviously, every company has choices to make in terms of where do you invest dollars. Software companies probably more challenged with that than a lot of other. How do you determine where you invest your dollars, and where does AI sort of fall in that, hierarchy of needs?
Internally, we think of the laser cutters and water jets and press brakes and CNC machines as the mechanical muscles of our customers' business. And we think of ourselves as the mechanical mind. So whatever your machines are able to do for the shop floor work in terms of automating things, requiring less human time, making things more precise, automating things, we try to apply that exact same mantra to the coordination, communication, and decision-making of a business. So that's our North Star. And we build software that increases throughput. So we measure how much more stuff our customers make after using Fulcrum with the same people, same machines. And whether that's right or wrong, we have a deep belief that that's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to serve our customers the best. And right now, the average customer after implementing Fulcrum generally makes about 35 to 40% more stuff with the same machines and people just by coordinating better. And we think we can push that even more. There's a lot of AI features that are cool and snazzy, but really do not move the needle on that. That doesn't really do much. There's a bunch of things that seem really boring, like we're working on a product feature that automatically reads all your emails and just pulls information in automatically into the system. That doesn't sound super cool, but it actually really increases the speed at which information is available for the rest of the shop. There's other things too that we're using for document generation, for first article inspection generation, auto report generation, COC generation, where you just drop a template from your customer in. It just searches through Fulcrum automatically and generates a document. Doesn't sound that cool, but automates a bunch of work that just doesn't deliver that much value, but needs to be done. A lot of the most important stuff that we found that increases throughput for our customers just aren't that cool sounding, but really have a huge impact to throughput. And so our North Star is throughput. Can you make more stuff? Because you don't have to spend time doing paperwork, don't have to spend time data entering, don't have to spend time double checking stuff, don't have to spend time like organizing things. We try to connect employees directly together. So we are working on some vision system stuff where you can record a video of how it's supposed to be made and we can index it and do things like that. We're trying to relate geometric modeling with 2D prints and bubble drawings for like quality checkpoints. So everything's visual in one place instead of having to check 3 different documents. Again, nothing that sounds super sexy, but all those things we prioritize hierarchically based on, is it going to make you make more stuff for the same amount of fixed resources? That's our North Star.
Thank you. One last question, maybe kind of even drilling a little back. One of the things that came out in my research was the importance of UI and UX and job satisfaction, the direct correlation. I think your solution probably is at the forefront of good UI, good UX design. I'm ERP agnostic, by the way, so I'm not here to endorse Fulcrum necessarily, but I think they do a great job on UI and UX. What was your kind of progression to get there? Because there were some bad UI and UX out there. How did you folks kind of tackle that problem?
Early on in my career, my first job was implementing systems like JobBoss and E2 and Epicor and Acumatica, stuff like that. And so I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I was just a dumb kid that knew how to write some SQL queries and whatever. And so I saw a lot of it in action. And what I saw over the 10 years of that first half of my career was the amount of density of data, the amount of stuff that people put into those systems dropped every year. It used to be that you put a lot of stuff in your ERP system, and then you started doing some stuff in a spreadsheet. Scheduling got a little harder, so you did it in a spreadsheet. Your estimating got a little harder, so instead of encoding it into an ERP, you did it in a spreadsheet. You had all other quality things where you had a quality schedule, you did it in a spreadsheet. And slowly, what I saw was that this thing that was supposed to be valuable, that stored everything, just atrophied into smaller and smaller footprint of information. And now all these things are disconnected, and you have a production meeting and all of a sudden people don't know stuff. And the whole purpose of having a centralized data store just went away. Or in order for it to be effective, people had to be really draconian and just be like, you have to get this information in here. There's no value in it besides that. And so when we launched our product, one of the questions we asked is that inevitable? And if it isn't inevitable, how do we fix it? And the number one thing is design. If we can make design better, if we can give you something for it, like you type in a checkpoint into the job tracker, it immediately tells you if it's out of tolerance and highlights it on the drawing. The operator likes that. They get something for it. Instead of you're writing a piece of paper, like what the actual measurement is, you hand it into a stack, some other person has to punch it into an ERP system, then you print out a report and 3 weeks later, I'm like, you messed up. Like that interaction sucks. And so can we improve the interface so that every individual end user loves using it? And if we do that, then you're just going to reverse this trend. And now Fulcrum's going to have more and more density of data. And as we increase that density, we can do cool AI stuff. We can do cool reporting stuff. We can do cool automation. But my primary thesis was, if we can't reverse that flow, this product is going to suck. You can't do anything with it. You can't not have one, but there's nothing exciting that you can do with it that you otherwise couldn't. So getting information in smoothly, whether that's an open API, really well-built integrations, great user interface, whether it's a computer putting data in or a human putting data in, or integrating with Aerospace or E2 open portals, if your customers are giving you blanket orders to pull stuff in, integrating with Ryerson to get automatic pricing and availability. One of our second product goals is, how do we reduce the friction of just getting information in? And design has historically been a really high point. We have 4 times more budget per revenue on design than other companies, and we get laughed at all the time, but we really believe in it.
One last question, I lied. Now it's going to be the last. So coming up, we're saying, obviously, 4 or 5 generations of folks, all going to be using kind of the same technology. How are you guys addressing that? You got the brand new kids coming in. They're used to iPhones, Apple Watches, kind of that user experience, user interface. Yeah, folks like me, nearing retirement, grew up with blue screen or green screen or whatever it was. How are you guys dealing with that challenge?
Yeah, I think every group of people has different things that they want to get out of the system. What we notice with more experienced folks in the shop floor is that they know a lot of information. There's actually quite a bit of interest in sharing that information as they think about retiring or exiting the business. And so there is some incentive for more experienced folks to put information into the system so that other people can know how to make stuff or documenting things. There's some motivation there. There's also more motivation if we can automate some of their work so that they can go focus on the craft of actually building stuff. And so our social contract with more experienced people is, we're going to record your knowledge and make sure that it's useful for other people. And we're going to make sure you do less paperwork so you can get to the work that you really want to do, which is making things. For the younger folks, like on the very opposite end of the spectrum, what they expect out of software is that it's live, it's easy to use, they get the right answers, the answers aren't old or outdated, they're not going to get embarrassed because they don't know what's going on. There's more anxiety about not performing well or not understanding information. So our social contract with them is a little different. It's about having really relevant information appear, having it be really intuitive, not having to memorize stuff, having it match the user interface flows of other software that they use, things that they expect. Just being able to type into a search bar anything and it searches the entire database is something very simple that most people that are younger expect, but most people that are older expect to say, I'm going to search for just a job number and type something in there. And so balancing those two things out, yes, you have to have some more training for more experienced folks that are used to previous systems, but that balance isn't nearly as challenging as the balance of what the culture is on the shop floor. Our biggest challenge is when organizations do not care about their employees because there's just not enough goodwill to adopt change. And so by and large, we actually see the biggest barrier to adoption and success as, do you actually care about your shop floor people, or do you treat them as a commodity? Which sounds like a really weird thing for a software company to care about. But if you look at our statistics, if you just see every employee as a temp that can go in and out, like, we're going to have a horrible time changing your systems over. But if you have a much more collaborative environment, you see your team as resources and assets instead of just liabilities, those are almost always really, really fast, beautiful, profitable engagements.